Hi, I think we are live. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are from. I'm Sam. I'm the founder and the CEO of Delenta. So we are today talking about something really interesting. It's about scaling your coaching or consultancy, or if you're running a therapy business, uh, any sort of online consultancy business can really get benefited out of the content that we're going to share in the next 30 to 45 minutes. So we got amazing expert in marketing, Mark Harris, joining us today to deliver a very interesting framework. It's called Growth, and we are talking about how your business, some of the perspective of the business, some aspects of your business, some levers of your business can get benefited from. If you're looking at increasing your revenue, increasing your customers, number of customers you got, or maybe brand, where you want to go in 2023. This model really can help you to strategize and how you want to sort of grow in this year and beyond. Right. So before I go into the presentation, there's a few housekeeping tips I want to share. This is, you please engage with us. If you have any questions, feel free to share with us those questions. We will ask those questions at the end of the presentation, of course. We also encourage you to share your experience and comments with us as well. So uh, let's get into the webinar. Right. Okay. So before we get started with the actual event, your presentation, um, uh, before we bring Mark into the stage, I want to give you a bit of an overview about Delenta, where we started, why we exist. So Delenta is a social experiment back in 2018. It was my side hustle to sort of make people, encourage people to share their knowledge and experience digitally on a platform. So during the pandemic, we found a lot of coaches, mentors, consultants using the platform for free to share their knowledge and experience. So that turned out to be another uh, pivot or another step towards building a business for or coaching platform for coaches and consultants. So what happened during that time was very interesting. The people who came to our community who mentioned about that how expensive, how complex it is to run a individual business. So we tried to create this solution. This is Delenta, is the solution that we created for coaches and consultants, the solopreneurs, to run entire their operations on Delenta, on a one digital solution. Rather than you have to, learn a lot more about different solutions, you can bring all that operations into one place, and you can organize yourself. And more than anything, you can give a better customer experience for your clients as well. So it's a online, web-based and also a mobile app-based solution for your business. Right. So the most important thing in our business is actually the community. Like I said, we started with a community of uh, experts, coaches, mentors who love to share that knowledge and experience, who want like to make the impact in the world. So today I'm joined by Mark Harris, who's an expert in marketing. I don't know how many years, Mark, you got. Hey, Mark, you're right. So
Yeah. Too many to share, Sam.
I don't want to really tell your age, but a friend of mine who's also using Delenta for his own digital coaching business, and is a growth marketer as well. So, Mark, I'll let you explain yourself. I'm sure you have a lot to explain, introduce.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to it. So my background is that I've worked for corporates and medium-sized companies, and eventually worked in two startups in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s, and learned a lot about entrepreneurialism, learned a lot about pivoting and changing and moving goals every 3 months, and learned a lot from corporate training about marketing and how to do it, and how to, how to structure things, how to look at businesses, and the way to look at them through a growth lens and a growth model. So in 13 years ago, I set up my own business because I wanted to help smaller businesses have access to marketing and skills and experience that they probably wouldn't normally have the access to themselves. Because when you set up a small business, you do it because you want to do what you're selling in your small business. You don't do it because you want to do marketing. So yeah, here I am 13 years later. I've taken some right turns, and I've taken some wrong turns in that process to get where I am. And so I'm a coach, a consultant, a mentor, and a part-time marketing director. So there's a number of different kind of modes that I work in, but ultimately it's about helping people to grow and grow their business, and also, trying to grow the people as well underneath that.
Yeah, no, interesting. I mean, we had, I a few coffees ourselves, in person, and we
Yeah.
had virtual coffees as well. So through the process, I learned that a lot about the way you look at how a business should grow, and how we, as an entrepreneurs, how we should look at that. What levers in your business should be pulled in right directions, isn't it? To scale. So it's interesting. So I'm very, very excited about the next 30 minutes of how the value that we can add to those entrepreneurs who are joining us.
No pressure then.
Well, you're expert, Mark. No pressure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So let's go into the presentation. Right.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do in the next 20 minutes or so is to look at businesses through a growth lens. And I know that we've got businesses of different sizes, individual, and different sort of maturities as well, I'm sure, on in the audience. So forgive me if this is basic for some and not advanced enough for others, but we're trying to find a middle ground here. But actually, what I'm giving tonight is sharing a couple of models that I think should work for all businesses, and hopefully it'll just give us a different perspective. Because as an individual who runs my own coaching business and consultancy, I can be so busy and so lost delivering, and so kind of tactical week to week, that I can't always make the time to be strategic and think about the plan. And so having these models has really helped me just to go, oh, okay, there's like a lens that you can put over the business and see it just makes the business look different to you. So growth mindset is also very important, and we'll talk a bit about that. I'm sure many of the coaches on the webinar tonight will know all about that. The strategy, some of the tools, the tips, and the frameworks, and then we've got a couple of examples of how coaches have used Delenta to scale and launch their businesses too. So we're very happy to take questions and answers as we go, or questions. Hopefully, we've got the answers. But yeah, let's go through this. So it's pretty basic but fundamental, this the concept of having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. It's really being committed and being understanding of the fact that we can all grow, we can all continue to grow. We're not just capped at our talent levels or our kind of skill set. We can all learn, we can all continue to grow. And if we have a mindset that is about growing for individuals, then actually we can apply that same mindset to our business. So if we have a growth mindset for our business, rather than letting it go organically or just see what happens month to month, year to year, actually having a strategic growth mindset really helps you focus and make big changes and big growth leaps as you need to. So it just encourages us to work on our business versus in our business, which we're all very, very good at doing. That's why we set up our businesses. And it's really, if it's not something that you can do alone, it's worth thinking about who you can get a kind of buddy with, who can help you, who can keep you focused on that strategic thought level about, okay, we're going this way, here's the strategy, how are we doing on that? Whether it's a virtual board of a couple of advisors that you regularly have mentoring sessions with, or it's just fellow coaches, or it's a community that, I know the Delenta community's probably got some very active conversations going on around this area as well.
Absolutely. I mean, this is I think, the most crucial part of the running a business or growing a business, isn't it? It's so simple to explain, but most difficult one to maintain,
Yeah.
the growth mindset, because
Yeah.
it's all about ups and downs, right?
Yeah. Especially with the challenges now, I launched my business in the middle of a recession, 2009.
Right.
So I kind of just went out into the choppy waters. We've seen choppy waters way beyond that in the last 2-3 years, COVID, etc., and now inflation and all the other costs of supply chain difficulties, etc., for big businesses. So there's a lot of turbulence out there, and if you're not careful, you can get caught up in the turbulence, just trying to navigate through the storms. But actually rising above it and looking at your business from the top down, not from the inside out,
Right.
that's one of the challenges. But also, it pays big dividends if you can continue to do that, and you don't have to do it alone. It's regular check-ins, monthly, quarterly, to see how you're getting on with your growth strategy.
Yeah, maintain that mindset, right, throughout the journey. All right, shall we go into the actual?
Yeah. So for all the coaches in the audience, you will recognize the GROW model, which is a very popular and commonly used model in coaching. So it looks at the goals of the client, the reality of where they are right now, the options they have to move towards their goals, and the will. What's the desire and what's the plan to move them towards their goals? And what I've done here is to adapt it to include the T and the H to make the growth model. And the T and the H are really the enablers. So if the top 4 goals, reality, options, and will are your direction and your plan, then the technology and the help are the enablers that allow you to scale and deliver your plan. So we'll talk about each of those in the next few slides. So the first two, the goals and the reality. I've put a few points down here to just demonstrate what I'm trying to convey for the goal. So as a business owner, if you can do it every year, it's brilliant. It sets this sort of vision, which is, where am I going? So what do I want to achieve by the end of the year? What are my goals? What do I want to have happened? And who am I actually aiming for? Who are my ideal clients? Who do I really enjoy working with? Who do I want to write content for? Who do I want to kind of engage with? What makes me continue to enjoy the work I'm doing? So that's kind of all the goals area. And then the reality aspect is, where am I now? How do I stack up against other coaches? What's my uniqueness? What's my kind of niche? You've probably all heard about that, but what makes me stand out? Whether it's the way you do it, it's the products that you offer, the different packages, the retreats that you might put together. How do you stand out? So that's the reality. And then what's your marketing like? What's your branding? What's your current growth plan and sort of strategy for that? And then also, what are your strengths? What's the weaknesses of the business? What are the opportunities for growth? And some of the threats that might be around and about that you need to consider. So those are the two, the goals and the reality of the business. And that's kind of the start point of developing your strategy. Where are we going and where are we now? Before we go any further, and while we're thinking of the future, let's go backwards. let's just take a couple of minutes if we can, because we're all so busy doing the do that we often find it difficult to stop and reflect. And perfect timing in January to look back at 2022 and just have a think about what actually happened for you and your business. What goals have you achieved? And what have you learned? And let's just take a couple of minutes, and maybe if people want to share a couple of their highlights in the chat, then please feel free. But I just want to give us maybe a couple of minutes, Sam, if we can honor that, just to give people this chance. So maybe get a piece of paper or write it on your computer. But what's just happened for you in the year that's gone? What have you achieved, and what have you learned?
Mhm. Yeah, time to reflect, right? I'm sure a lot more, especially coaches. I think they're really good at doing these reflecting exercises and maintaining journals throughout the year or
Yeah.
two during the sort of their coaching, their do their entrepreneurship, of course. But what would work for you, Mark? Like, do you have a journal? Like, do you record yourself a lot?
I make notes on my phone, so
Right.
I use iPhone's notes, and
Mhm.
so whenever I get the time to just go, okay, where am I going? What do I want to achieve? And your strategy is not locked and set in stone. It changes, of course, depending on all the things around us. But
Yeah.
from for me, December is the time to reflect, and actually December seems to have run a bit longer this year. So I don't think people really got back into the groove of work till about the 9th of January. So we're kind of still in that reflective phase. But yeah, just I tend to go, I need sort of physical expansion. So I go for a walk and I'll reflect and I'll think about things that way. I'm
Mhm.
not very good at kind of sitting down writing. I tend to have to be active to get the reflections going.
Yeah. No,
How about
you
you?
know, I hear a lot of good things about, like, outside, like I heard a company called Outside Coaching recently who contacted us. So
Mm,
there's a lot of activities, like, not in the offices, but how you can use your environment, right, like the nature, to connect with what you want to achieve and reflect on things. That's
mm,
really interesting. Yeah, I do make notes myself, actually.
mm.
I'm a very conventional notebook guy. I have a bunch of notebooks I collect over months and years, but I still do, not a journal, but notes, taking notes,
Yeah,
weekly
yeah,
basis. Yeah.
yeah. It's good. And when you stumble across the notes from the previous show, it's like, oh, actually, yeah, that that
That's
that did happen.
yeah. No, writing has some level of impact on your goals as
Yeah, definitely. If you put it down in some kind of handwritten format, then it does have more power around it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Teresa said, I'm just starting. So for me, it's getting virtual clients. Okay. So we will be talking about some of those things and construct a roadmap with everything I've achieved in this business, with entail different models of delivery. Wow. Well
Great.
done, Teresa.
Mm, yeah. I got a quick question for you, Sam.
Mhm.
Who do you sort of spar with? Who do you work with to kind of help you sort of bounce the growth ideas off?
Yeah, interesting question. I mean, mainly, as we do speak within the team a lot, within uh, the team we got, because we have much more insights, within the company, what's
Mm,
happening. When it comes to the growth aspects, I'm very fortunate to be part of a coaching community where there are a lot of smart people,
mm,
more smarter than me or entire team, if you collectively, if you look at, and they have so much experience, and we basically tend to speak with a few. It's more around the areas that we want to explore
mm,
in the growth strategy, when we define the growth strategy.
yeah.
So yeah, so that's how I tend to operate.
Yeah. And as a founder and owner, you do need that sort of almost like a board of non-execs or a mastermind group that you can tap into. Yeah, it's so important, isn't it?
So important. And the trusted advisory, right? Like that's what you're looking for. So most of the time, that person need to understand you, understand your business, understand the nature of your business, and then can be able to give a insight about what's happening and the direction that we're taking. So yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, great. Well, we've had time to reflect, hopefully, and hopefully that's given you a little bit of a sort of start point to say, oh yeah, okay, I did do all right last year, and things did go to plan. So, and I did learn some things. So just a little opportunity to be mindful about last year before we move on to the next one.
Right, let's go. Right.
Thank you. So we're on to the O and the W of the growth model now. O stands for options. So what options do I have for growth? And this, I've got two models in here, which I'll share in the next couple of slides. One is called the product pyramid, and the other one is the 7 growth levers for any business, typically. Not all applicable, but it'll be a good framework for today. And then the will, which is, okay, having assessed all the options and looked at the kind of roadmap and things, what am I going to do? What's the actual plan of action that I'm going to document and start to take action on? And playing, testing, and learning. And the marketing world now is very much more experimental than it used to be. So actually, digital and all the different tools that you have to hand allow you to really test and learn and experiment. And if there's one thing I would encourage everybody to do, is to not be afraid of marketing, but actually treat it as an experimental zone, as a play zone. If something doesn't work, you're going to learn from it. You're actually just going to learn from it. It's not going to be end of your business. So just to debunk all the marketing myths that are out there, it's very experimental, and you can quickly control costs and respond to changes in market appetite and things. So thank you, Sam. So this is of the options section. This is the product pyramid, and this is a model that I learnt about from a chap called Daniel Priestley. I guess many people in the audience may or may not have been to one of his seminars or read his books. Really, really smart guy, and his team called Dent. The company's called Dent. But the model that he shared was one that really resonated with me because I've got a product background as well, and as service providers, or consultants, coaches, we tend to think of our business as we sell hours of our time to people to help them grow in whatever capacity that is. Beyond that, thinking of your business with products actually gives you a nice stepping stone of a ladder of products that people can work up to get deeper into your business, get to know you more. And so this model, this pyramid, is basically 4 layers, and the largest one at the bottom is free product. So anything that you create, which might be a downloadable product, a white paper, audio product, a podcast, all those things that are free to consume. That's where people get to know about you, get to like you, get to trust you, and go, oh yeah, actually this person speaks a lot of sense. They might be able to help me with my challenge or whatever it is. The first level of payment is the sort of starter level, the one above, and that's where people can commit to buying something from you. And it may not be a full coaching package. It may be a book that you've written, an ebook or something. And they can at least get more insight and more knowledge and more understanding of the way you work at that level before they become more interested in the coaching products, perhaps, or the consultancies that you offer. So the main core product is the one you spend most of your time delivering. And that could be, for example, a coaching session, or it could be a series of coaching sessions. And these price points are just put in here to give you an idea of the sort of price differentiation. They're not accurate in terms of market value. And at the top of the pyramid, where people have worked their way through these are kind of where your superfan customers live. They are the ones that will be coming on retreats, booking with you for long consultancy, or booking with you for actually long coaching programs. So it's more expensive in the VIP product section, and it requires more time commitment, both perhaps from you, but also from the client. Sam, does this mirror some of your Delenta offering?
Absolutely. Like this is, I mean, when it comes to product strategy, that most coaches consider at the very early stage in their coaching career to the established coaches, they have the similar model. So I'm glad. So you just share this Daniel's priest this pyramid, product pyramid. I absolutely believe, and that's where you can think about free appointments that you can develop coaching packages that you can develop.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
We're very lucky to have Sam with us today. He's not feeling very well, so he's nursing his froggy throat for us. Thank you, Sam.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, when you look at your coaching business or consultancy business, how are we going to sort of strategize your products around that? Some of the products are, you know, in these price brackets. I can sort of see the courses that people develop, and some of the coaching packages they develop, and then in-person group coaching memberships. So this nicely fitting in this pyramid. I mean, I wish I basically put those, symbols of each the product that you can actually develop on Delenta on this pyramid, and you can definitely, I can definitely see that VIP probably in person, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, like a
One.
retreat or something. Yeah, in-person retreat, 4 days or long weekend or something. Yeah. Thank you, Sam. Okay, so we're still under the options section. So what are the kind of things that you can do to create growth within your business? The 7 business levers. This is a model from the Marketing Center, and they advise SME and larger businesses in terms of how they can grow from where they are now to get to the goals that they want to achieve. So I'll just whiz through these 7 levers that we can consider looking at the business through. So lead generation is all of your marketing activities. So it's everything from pay-per-click Google advertising